In this lesson, we're going to cover three very important concepts when it comes to learning about atoms, chemical combinations, and so on in chemistry. So, we're going to learn about valence electrons, valency, and the octet rule, or sometimes called the duplet rule. So, what are valence electrons? First, in any atom, electrons are arranged in different energy levels that we call shells around the nucleus.
Subscribe.
Let's look at lithium, for example. Lithium has the atomic number 3. So, its shell arrangement is 2 electrons on the first shell and 1 more electron on the last shell. This is happening because the atomic number is just 3 and we can't go further than 3. When we represent this with the shell diagram, we have shell K and shell L. Shell K can hold 2 electrons and shell L can hold up to 8 electrons. You can watch our video on shells, subshells, and orbitals to better understand some of these terms. In this lithium shell representation, since there's only 1 more electron left, shell L will then be 1. This one, both in the writing and picture format, is the valence electron of lithium. The shell in which it is found is the outermost shell, and it has the highest energy level. So, based on this little explanation, we can say that valence electrons are the electrons located in the atom's outermost shell, that is, the shell that has the highest energy level. Valence electrons are the only electrons that interact with other atoms and participate in the formation of chemical bonds, so they participate in chemical bonding. The number of valence electrons an atom possesses determines its chemical properties, its reactivity, and how it will bond with other elements. The inner electrons, that is the shell K electrons, are tightly held by the nucleus and generally do not participate in chemical reactions, except in some scenarios like in hydrogen and in helium. One way of finding the valence electrons of an element is using the atomic number and distributing the electrons into shells following the 2-8-18 pattern, where shell K can hold only 2 electrons, shell L can hold 8 electrons, and shell M can hold 18 electrons. Now this should work for elements from 1 to 20. So this pattern typically fits for your first 20 elements. But if you want to get into more complex elements, you can simply just use the formula 2n to the power of 2 to know the amount of electrons in each shell. Remember, n represents the shell number. So for shell 1 will be equal to 2 times 1 to the power of 2, which is equal to 2. You can replicate this for as many shells as possible. So if you follow this pattern, let's look at carbon for an example. Carbon has the atomic number 6. If you follow this pattern, that means we'll have 2 in the first shell and 4 in the next shell. So carbon has the valence electron of 4. Phosphorus has the atomic number 15. Following this rule, the first shell can hold 2. We still have 13 more. The second can hold 8. This leaves us with 5 more electrons. So we have 5 more electrons in the last shell. So that means that phosphorus has 5 valence electrons. Another way of finding valence electrons of elements is by using the periodic table. The periodic table is organized perfectly to help you determine the number of valence electrons for the main group elements simply by looking at their vertical columns known as groups. The horizontal rows are called periods. Elements in the same group have similar chemical properties because they share the same number of valence electrons. And here's how you can use the group number to find the number of valence electrons. Group 1 elements have 1 valence electrons. So we have examples like sodium, lithium, potassium, and so on. Group 2 elements have 2 valence electrons. We can see examples like beryllium, magnesium, calcium, and so on. For elements from group 13 to 18, so elements that have double digits, the number of valence electrons is equal to the unit digit of that group. So for group 13, the valence electron is 3 valence electrons. So we can see this in examples like boron, aluminium, gallium, and so on. Then for group 14, they have 4 valence electrons. So carbon, silicon, germanium. For group 15, they have 5 valence electrons: nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, and so on. For group 16, they have 6 valence electrons, so oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, and so on. Group 17, we call these the halogens. They have 7 valence electrons. So we have fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and so on. And then for group 18, we call these the noble gases. They have 8 valence electrons. So we can see examples like helium, neon, argon, krypton. And the reason why we can see elements like helium here for this example is because helium observes something called the Duplet rule. And we'll explain this when we explain the octet rule, so just make sure you stick around. Now you notice that we skipped the transition metals when we're talking about the arrangement of the groups. There's a reason. Transition metals, that is from group 3 to group 12, are an exception to this simple rule because of how their orbitals feel. Transition metals have inner d subshells that are very close in energy to their outermost s subshell. As a result, transition metals generally have 2 valence electrons in their outermost s subshell, but they can also use the electrons in their d orbitals to participate in chemical bonding, allowing them to have multiple oxidation states. Platinum, for example, has 10 valence electrons, but it commonly exhibits a valency of +2 or, in some compounds, +4. So this leads us to the term valency. So what is valency? What does it mean when we say an element has 10 valence electrons, but it has a valency of 2? What does it mean when we say an element has 7 valence electrons, but it has a valency of 1, like we see in chlorine? So valency, also known as valence, is the combining power of an atom. This basically just means the capacity of an element's atom to form chemical bonds. It tells us exactly how many atoms an element can combine with by indicating the number of electrons it must lose, gain, or share to achieve a highly stable noble gas configuration, typically an octet of 8 electrons. So, while valence electrons are the total number of electrons present in the atom's outermost shell, valency is the specific number derived from those valence electrons that determines the atom's bonding behavior. So here's what all this plenty grammar means. For metals, that means elements in group 1, 2, and 13, the valency of a metal generally equals to its number of valence electrons. So the number you find outside is the valency. So for example, sodium has 1 valence electron and it can donate 1 valence electron when it forms a bond, giving it a valency of 1. For non-metals, so group 15, 16, and 17, these groups have to accept or share electrons to complete their octet. So the valency of non-metals is usually 8 minus the number of valence electrons. So for instance, oxygen has 6 valence electrons. So when we do 8 minus 6, we'll have 2. So it needs 2 more to reach an octet, giving it a valency of 2. Hydrogen is a non-metal, but it has a valency of 1, so it's an exception. Some elements do not typically follow this rule. So an example is hydrogen. Hydrogen is a non-metal, but it has a valency of 1, which is equal to its 1 valence electron. Group 14 elements like carbon have exactly 4 valence electrons and can comfortably share them, giving them a valency of 4. Also, noble gases, that is in group 18, already possess a complete octet, so they're already stable, meaning they have a valency of 0, and generally they are chemically inert. That means they do not typically react. So basically, from this little explanation, we can say that the valency of an element is simply how many atoms it needs to either gain or share to achieve the octet state. And the octet state, or the duplet state in some examples, is a state that is more balanced and unreactive. And this is majorly the goal for every atom and one of the reasons why elements bond in the first place. So this leads us to the octet slash duplet rule. To understand why atoms bond, we must look at the octet rule. Atoms are most stable when their outermost electron shell is completely full. For most elements, the most stable arrangement is having 8 valence electrons. This is what we call an octet. There are some elements that already have an octet normally, and we call these the noble gases, and we can find them in group 18. These elements already have 8 valence electrons, or in helium, 2 valence electrons in their outermost shell. When we have 8 valence electrons, we call it octet. When we have 2 valence electrons, we call it duplet. And because their outer shells are closed and full, they are highly stable, chemically inert, and they rarely react with other elements. Other atoms do not naturally have 8 valence electrons and are therefore reactive. They will readily donate, accept, or share valence electrons with other atoms to achieve a stable octet. Hydrogen and helium only have one energy level, that is the shell K. And because the shell K can only hold a maximum of 2 electrons, these elements always aim for a stable duplet rather than an octet. So the octet rule just basically means that atoms tend to gain, lose, or share valence electrons in order to achieve a complete outermost shell of 8 electrons. And the duplet means 2 electrons. This allows them to reach a highly stable, chemically unreactive electron configuration that is similar to that of noble gases. So let's look at an example. Oxygen, for an example. The electron configuration of oxygen has the atomic number 8. And when we arrange this following a typical arrangement, shell 1 will have 2 electrons and shell 2 will have 6 valence electrons. To achieve the octet state, what we'll simply do is minus 6 from 8, which is the octet. This leaves us with 2, so oxygen has to gain 2 more electrons. Now, we're sticking with this choice of gaining 2 more electrons as opposed to losing all 6 valence electrons, because it is much more easier to gain 2 more electrons than it is to lose 6 valence electrons. So by taking 2 electrons, oxygen will complete its octet, giving it a valency of 2. The same can be done for almost any element. Remember, for elements from group 1, 2, and 3, the valency is the same as the number of valence electrons it has. So when you see elements like sodium, magnesium, aluminium, just know that the valence electrons and the valency are the same. Then for non-metals like nitrogen, oxygen, and chlorine, you simply minus the valence electrons from 8 to get its valency. For nitrogen has the atomic number 7. So the arrangement would be 2 and 5. So we'll have 8 minus 5 to give us 3. So the valency of nitrogen is 3. You can use plus or minus signs to indicate between metals and non-metals. So for example, the valency for boron would be plus 3 to indicate that it is transferring to a non-metal. And then for non-metals like nitrogen, you can indicate the valency by writing a -3 to indicate that it is receiving. So to make sure there's no confusions, you can use plus or minus. This is completely optional. But if you want to do some kind of chemical combination, which you will learn later on, these plus and minus signs will be very helpful. So another example. So phosphorus has the atomic number 15. When we arrange it using the typical shell arrangement, we have 2, 8, and 5. So 5 valence electrons. So 8 minus 5 valence electrons to give us a valency of 3. And since it's a non-metal, you can say -3, indicating that it's indeed going to receive 3 valence electrons from a metal. So you can go ahead and solve some examples to see if this rule actually works. So valence electrons are the electrons that we find in the outermost shell of an atom. They are typically the electrons that participate in chemical combination or chemical reaction. Valency basically tells us how many electrons an atom needs to either gain or lose to achieve the octet or duplet state. And then the octet rule or the duplet rule basically tells us that elements want to either gain or lose electrons to achieve a duplet or octet state. And this state is more stable and less reactive. So that's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, give a like, share with your friends. If there's still anything that you don't understand, leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, consider subscribing.